you got a blitz package on. You got Ryder Anderson playing. I don't know what he was playing. He's obviously zone coverage and didn't get that done against the tight end. But I guess when you got that call, you better get to the quarterback, right?
Yeah, it's a combination of two things, and you're exactly right. You got that blitz package on, and you're hoping that the pressure get there. But at the same time, Ryder's on the tight end. The safety got to lean that way, and then Ryder got to have a little bit better man eyes. And it's one of those pressures where you call, and every pressure's a gamble. But when you have a defensive end on it, like you just mentioned, I mean, that's certainly a gamble. But I guarantee if you put Ryder Anderson in that position again, he'll make that play, or at least he'll be on the tight end because he's a very conscientious kid. And that particular play bothered him. It even bothered him on Sunday. And I said, hey, man, let it go. You're a better football player than that. Let's go play the next play.
With Winters out, how does that kind of affect y'all dynamically, and who can you kind of plug in for this next month?
Well, overall, speaking of the injuries, correct, you have to pay attention to what you're installing. And because you're not going to get the same offense you're seeing every week on video from the opponents. And so you have to be really diligent about, keeping your install small. And the biggest thing about this week coming up is we'll get a lot of carryover from Arkansas's offense to Auburn's offense. So we won't install anything. We just pay attention to what they're doing, get better at situational football, clean up our mistakes, from the football game, and we'll move forward.
You talked after the game about, on Sunday, wanting to really harp on the positives. What does that look like throughout this week? How much do you go back and go over those explosive plays that you guys gave up as opposed to the ones that you made in the second half?
Oh, you do both. You pay attention to both. I mean, you can't ignore the explosive plays. We gave up 10 in the first half, and we own them. We take ownership in them. And every individual player, that's the beauty of it, they take ownership in it. And then, as a coordinator, my hand's in the cookie jar as well. I take ownership in it. So we look at the explosive plays, and then we show them the good plays, and here's what happens when we fit it the right way. And then when we don't fit it the right way, here's what happens. But it's not an indictment on one individual. I mean, it's all of us. That's why this is the ultimate team sport. So we pay attention to both. We celebrate the good plays, and we correct the ones that's not so good.
You were at Auburn a couple of years ago. You kind of know some of this personnel. What do you anticipate out of their offense? I mean, coming right at you?
Well, I anticipate them to come out with a lot of exotic formations. They'll shift in motion almost every play. I expect the screen to be a huge part of their offense. They have really two explosive players, Ryan Davis and Anthony Schwartz, who can blow the top off of coverage. They can take a 2-yard catch and turn into a 90-yard gain. So we have to know those guys at every play. And then outside of that, Chuck, we expect them to take shots. This is a football team that love to throw the ball down the field. They embrace the vertical game, and so we have to prepare for that as well. And then as well as the ground game. I mean, he's going to run his CG sweep into the boundary. You get your split zone, your power. And so we got to have good eye discipline to make sure we get it lined up correctly. We better know what number 5 and 23 is on every single snap. And the quarterback standing, he can connect on the vertical ball. So we have to have good discipline house pre-snap, as we did this past week, and we have to account for their playmakers.
What's your assessment of Willie Hibbler and what's allowed him to kind of rise back up the depth chart?
Willie Hibbler has allowed himself to rise back up the depth chart. He's been playing really good. We look at the plays that he's been making, and his confidence is really improving, and we expect him to continue to make good plays. But Willie's doing a good job. He's always been unbelievable in terms of his classroom preparation, getting in there, watching video, digesting the game plan, and so now it's beginning to pay off. And that third down stop will give him a ton more confidence in his playability. So we'll definitely keep him active on the roster and keep him in the starting spot. And like we tell all our players, whatever you get, you probably earned it. If you start and you earned it. If you're on the bench, you probably earned it. So he's earned the right to be in that rotation to be as a starter, and we expect him to keep playing at a high level.
Coach number 27, Ruggs, was kind of absent in the defensive rotation the other night. Can we expand on that?
Well, you got guys like Willie that's out playing, and he's doing a great job, and you stay with him. And, Coach Summerall does a tremendous job, coaching all those guys. And, the unique thing about coaching is, in every contest, You got to figure out, one, what your opponent is trying to do to you. Second, you got to figure out who's playing great for you. And if that guy's playing great and he's got good stamina and the game is rolling on, don't take him out of the game. And I thought Coach did a good job of that. Ruggs is definitely still on our plans. We're looking forward to him coming out this week working and having an impact in this game coming up Saturday.
With Markel out, are you looking at more Wiley and maybe more Brendan Williams?
Exactly. The first guy comes to mind, and we'll get back to work on tonight doing the game plan and be back on the grass tomorrow. But the first guy come to mind is Brendan Williams, and Ryder certainly has to step up. And so we'll come up with a great plan as a defensive staff to fill the void for 19, and we'll move forward.
I'm adding this right. You've given up 173 points in the first half and 73 in the second half. What's the difference?
One is adjustments. Give credit to the assistant coaches, and they have a good relationship with these players. And we go into halftime, and we talk with the staff, and then they get with their players. And the coaches did a phenomenal job Saturday on making adjustments. And we made the adjustments, went into a couple of fronts, a couple of coverages that we needed to stop Arkansas. And the players did a good job of digesting it. And so give the players and assistant coaches credit, one, for noticing what we need to go into. Secondly, for going out and executing it. And then the assistant coaches for believing in the guys. And we did some things in the game plan in the second half that we didn't practice, but it paid dividends. And so I think that's what you have to do in this league, is you have to go into halftime and you have to make adjustments. And give credit to Arkansas. They made some plays in that first half. They had a couple of calls, and we was in a particular defense, and they won that particular play. And so we decided at halftime, hey, what's our best defense to go in to help these players out, and so these calls can be spot on, so we don't give explosive plays. And we did a good job of coming out and not giving up touchdowns in the second half.
So are teams doing things differently than what you've seen them do going into a game? I mean, is it new wrinkles that you're seeing?
Oh, certainly. Everybody game plan. Everybody has Exos computers, they game plan, they got analysts, and so you're not going to see the same thing every week. And that's the thing we try to express to our players is that, you have to be problem solvers. I wish there was some way we can put the players in exact position during the week of what they're going to see on Saturday. But each week, that offensive coordinator, whoever's in charge of the offense, they're going to tailor the offense to run against this defense. They're going to tailor the offense based on their injury report. So you're not going to see the exact offense weekly. And so I think the real key is making adjustments. If you go into a ball game and you don't make adjustments, that's when you find yourself on the short end. So you'll get a variation every week in terms of what you've seen the previous week. They'll feature some players. You may see a bread and butter play. But overall, you'll get some changes, some wrinkles, as you just mentioned.
Coach, is there any way to make adjustments before halftime?
Yeah, certainly. You make adjustments before the halftime. You make adjustments throughout the whole game. You just don't wait to halftime. But you can make your biggest adjustments, at halftime, particularly going and doing some things at that point, so you hadn't repped that week. So you make adjustments as we did throughout the entire game. But the biggest ones that you can make, because now you have an opportunity to get on the board and you have a bigger margin of time to make those adjustments. But no, you make them throughout the entire game. But your meat and potatoes of adjustments will certainly come at halftime.
Coach, back to Willie's play on third down. You can point to all kinds of things. It might be a game-winning play. Scotty sticks it in to put us ahead, et cetera, et cetera. But for that particular game, that had to be considered, I would think, a game-winning play, especially on the defensive side. Is that overstating that a little bit, or can you take that one play and use it in a positive way the rest of the way?
Well, there was a ton of plays that was made in that game that helped us win the game. But I think you're exactly right. That particular play, and we cited it when we did our video on Sunday, we just called it the play of the day because he makes that third down play. It was nice to see the communication. It started with Zedrick Woods, identifying the formation, and they made movement. And, Willie, we call mixed the linebackers. He mixed over, and he pointed to Ken Webster, hey, you take the Trojan. And by that time, Webster was hollering, hey, I have the Trojan. But to see the communication and then to actually see Willie execute it, you got to walk away from it and say that's the play of the day. It was really good to see them communicate and see him make that play.
Coach, Auburn, from an offensive standpoint, appears to be struggling with confidence a little bit. Does that change anything you do as far as a game plan or an aggression standpoint?
No, this is the SEC contest, and they're coming in, into Oxford, and it's an SEC road game for them. They'll be very confident. and they're gonna come in. We expect them to play fast, and we're not gonna change our game plan at all. We're gonna play this game like they're undefeated, and so they have a lot of weapons over there. They know how to win, and we're not looking at whether their confidence is shaking. We're looking at it like it's a home game. It's an SEC game. It's a game that we need to win.